The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They stream all UK and Irish racing live on your mobile, tablet or PC.
Hello one and all, and welcome to this Racing Postcast. For the last few days I've been whistling the Champions theme tune constantly, which can mean only one thing: the Lincoln is over and the Grand National is here. Wahey! The Grand National is on the horizon on Saturday afternoon. We'll be talking plenty about that in the second half of this programme. But first of all, to talk about the weekend just gone, we have the stellar lineup of Alistair Down, David Jennings and Mr. Paddy Power. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi, Lee.
Hello, Lee. How are you getting on?
Good, thank you. Hope you're all well and ready to talk about what's to come, but also what's just gone. And if we look at some of the talking points from the last few days, big news story, I guess, was the Barry Geraghty 30-day suspension at Limerick on Sunday for not putting his horse into that race. It was a strange race to watch. David Jennings, just, if you like, sum up what happened at Limerick and how weird a race that was.
Yeah, it's one of these occasions where I suppose the front runner just gets such an unassailable lead, and Peter O'Hare, who's doing the commentary, you could almost hear it in his voice. It was just strange. Velocity Boy maybe got 10 lengths by the first hurdle. Noble Emperor, in the stewards report afterwards, Barry was told to try get some cover, that he can be a little bit keen. Unfortunately, getting cover in a race like that meant that he had to sit 20-25 lengths off the leader, who is a right good horse. He did something similar in the maiden hurdle at Limerick beforehand, Velocity Boy, and he actually ran the week before and was held up and just didn't find that much off the bridle. So they went back to the original tactics, went miles clear. Look, watching the race, you knew halfway through this horse not going to be caught. I had no financial involvement in the race whatsoever. At halfway, I knew this horse had gone too far clear. It wasn't as if he was a no-hoper. Like I remember a few years ago in Leopardstown, that Writer's Block, I think, was 50-1 or 66-1. He was a no-hoper that got an unassailable lead. This was a good horse, second favourite, well back, that got an unassailable lead. I was shocked, I have to say, when I heard the news, 30-day ban, the €3,000 fine. But unfortunately, these things go to appeals, and as Paddy Power will tell you, they're betting 1 to 6 that Barry Geraghty will get his ban reduced. I would say that's probably the best 1 to 6 shot of all time. These things just tend to go back to the turf club. He's going to appeal it. He's probably going to get off. How many days he's going to get, I'm not so sure. But I would strongly suggest that Barry Geraghty will be riding a punch of sense.
Alistair, what I found first encouraging was that the stewards had been prepared to penalise a very high-profile jockey riding a horse owned by Ireland's biggest owner, JP McManus, at his local track. But what I thought was very odd watching the race was how the stewards were able to single out Barry Geraghty when it seemed that if he was guilty of incompetence or anything, that they all were, apart from the winning rider. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was quite interesting in Paul Carberry's comments today that, it wasn't a great ride. It's interesting, to say the very least, that stewards are prepared to hand out such a sort of swinging ban. 30 days is kind of a lifetime to a jockey mid-season with Punchestown coming up. Is there a suggestion that JP McManus's horses are being watched through a different pair of spectacles than in days of old? I don't know.
I mean, I suppose maybe the old accusation would have been that they were being watched with different spectacles and they were maybe rose-tinted spectacles. Is it maybe the other way around now?
Possibly. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because I agree with what you said, Lee. I think that I backed actually the third in the race because I'm a complete muppet, Cliff House, and I was watching the race. I was kind of like as Dave was, I kind of watched it going like, my dough was done well before the finish, and it wasn't a no-hoper in front, and he wasn't going back to them. So, yeah, Geraghty gave the horse a rubbish ride, but so did every other jockey in the race gave their horse a rubbish ride too. So, I think that if they're going to try out that 30-day ban, maybe they can't ban every jockey for 30 days, but But yeah, there might be something in that. I mean, look, the horse trained by Tony Martin, it's owned by JP McManus, so we've seen them win handicaps before when they've been well backed. To be fair, it wasn't a big drifter or anything like that, so the winner was well backed. He went off like second favourite, about 2-1. I think he was probably much bigger in the morning, like 7-2 or 4-1 in the morning. So yeah, there was a gamble landed, but it wasn't like the favourite was very weak or something. So from a betting perspective, it wasn't suspicious or anything like that, but just a shocking ride probably.
The funny thing about this is, Lee, as well, this happened in Clonmel last year with a horse called Fever Pitch. I think he finished 5th of 5. He was 11-4 giant favourite at Clonmel. Geraghty was originally suspended for 2 days for a similar type of rule breach, and he got off as well. So, that's only last October. I think it was the end of October. So it's interesting that this happened so soon after that. You're talking whatever 5 or 6 month gap, and something similar has happened.
David, wasn't there a day earlier in the season when they had something like 3 or 4 JP McManus horses in to look at over the day, all for different trainers?
That's right. I think it was a Nace. Was it a Nace earlier on in the season? I think I remember they were all done, and the appeals were all in the Turf Club. I think it was a Tony Martin horse as well involved. I think they all got off on appeals as well. So there was different types of reasons. I think I can't remember now. Jesus, a lot has happened since the start of the season.
But I mean, I'm very much of the school of opinion that Barry O'Getty's ban reduced considerably. But I just wonder if there is a change in the air in the way Irish stewards are operating at the moment in relation to various yards and owners.
Guys, we'll just have a look now at the flat action from the weekend. And a good weekend for the Sports 2 Superpowers. Godolphin, they won the Lincoln with Secret Brief. Bellardo took the Doncaster Mile as well. And they also had a decent success on the flat in France Saint-Cloud in one of their Prix de Jockey Club trials. And perhaps more interestingly for discussion now, we have seen what might well be Ballydoyle's main Derby horse, US Army Ranger, who won that maiden at Leopardstown on Sunday. Guys, were we impressed with US Army Ranger?
Absolutely, yeah. I did the analysis of the race, Lee, and I was very, very impressed. 20s before the race with Paddy Power, 12s after the race, and within 24 hours it's down to 6s. And look, just everything about the horse. He's a real imposing kind of individual. He's obviously out of Moonstone, who won the Irish Oaks. Half brother to Words, plenty of pace there. Stubbs, a nice sprinter, and Nevis, so very well related. And just like the way he moved through the race, like maybe 2 furlongs out, you were wondering was the gap going to come. And then when he got upside Zashek, the well-back Dermot Wells horse, it was hands and heel stuff. You just wonder how far would he have won if Ryan had got serious. He said that there was plenty more gears to go up. Donnacha O'Brien, I think, rides him in all his homework, and he has been telling all his mates that this horse is very, very special from a long time ago. So obviously Paddy will tell you about the punters that have been backing it at huge prices, but he looks a huge player. I know it's only one run, so we're probably getting a little bit carried away, but I'd say the second horse, Ashek, is a very, very good horse to put nicely clear of the third. It's proven to be a good maiden in the past at Ruler of the World with winning it, so I'd say US Army Ranger already is a huge player in the Derby.
Paddy, have the right people been backing US Army Ranger?
You mean the faces in inverted commas?
The faces in inverted commas. Yeah.
There's been a lot of money around for US Army Ranger. It's one of these ones, but there was for Min in the Supreme. Don't forget. But a lot of early support for him as well. But I mean, David said, he's 6-1, so he's certainly backable. But I wonder, are we getting a bit carried away with him? To be honest with you, I mean, that's the price he is because the weight of money suggests that's the price he is. But this year, another thing to take into account, I guess, the Guineas is normally the best trial, but the hot favourite for the Guineas is almost certainly not going to run in the Derby. Yeah. So if he Air Force Blue goes and wins the Guineas, it'd be a big surprise, I think, if you're on the Derby. So that maybe knocks that one out. But we're bound to see, and of course the French or the Fabre horse, the Godolphin one, is a non-runner as of yesterday, isn't it? Or it's had a setback or whatever. So more stuff was going to come out. Like there's other horses going to win other trials, probably as impressively. Ryan Moore's comments were significant after the race when he said, "Oh, he just kept finding gears every time I asked him. I didn't get near the top gear or whatever." But you could be cynical and say his comments have become more commercial in recent years. But he's an obvious favourite so far. I mean, like he was impressive, yeah, but it's very early days to be saying he's a Pegasus or anything yet.
Alistair, he's obviously the leading light at the moment, but he's the only bullet of Derby bullet that Aidan's fired. There'll be 7 or 8 possibilities coming out in the next 6 weeks, whatever. And look, it's we haven't had the National yet, and we're already talking about this being, the hot pot for the Derby. He is clearly the leading contender at the moment, but that's because there aren't any others.
And Alistair, you'll be pleased to know, after this commercial break, we will start talking about the National.
Hooray!
Here's Paddy Power's latest offer for the Grand National. They're paying a huge 5 places. That's more than both William Hill and Ladbrokes. You're welcome. 18 plus, please gamble responsibly.
So Saturday is Grand National Day. Growing up, this was always my favourite day of the year. Grand National Grandstand, Des Lynam, Jenny Pittman, Peter O'Sullivan, John Hammer down at the third fence. Wonderful, wonderful race. And this looks like a rattling good Grand National. We had the order of entry in just before we started recording this programme, listeners. And it's not good news for the Aintree stalwarts, if you like. Phil Smith, the head of handicapping, has to determine the horses bracketed on the same weight, which order they should get into the race. And it means that Pinot de Rey is only number 46 to get into the 40 runner Grand National. Highland Lodge, who won the Bitch Chase, is 47. Alvarado, last year's fourth, is 48. Realistically, those 3 horses are probably not going to make it into the Grand National field. Alistair, does that trouble you in any way?
I think only in the sense that it seems kind of arbitrary and unfair that the previous winner can't get in, but what it actually does is reinforce the quality of this event. The lowest rated will be the highest rated ever, which would be the Romford Pelé if the field stands as it is. Phil Smith has been the hero of recent years with this race. His avowed intention when he took over was to raise the quality of horses running in the National, and he's done that magnificently.
He has done a great job. Just a bit of feedback on this debate about whether the entry process should be changed slightly. I suggested in the Monday column thingy,
You want
Bob.
penalties, don't
Well,
you?
I like the idea of something that works very well with the Melbourne Cup, where the weights come out early there, but thereafter, horses that win races, the handicapper can allot a penalty of his own choosing. So you could have races in which horses don't pick up penalties, so that trainers who want to give the horse a run that are already in the weights can run and aren't going to be afraid of picking up a penalty. But a horse like Cause of Causes, who now can't get into the Grand National, would still be able to get in because Phil Smith could have picked a penalty of his choosing. And I just thought that adds spice.
What's it add to it?
I think what it adds to it is it makes those weeks leading up to the Grand National fascinating because you have debate about who's going to get into the Grand National. Trainers with horses not in the top 40 still have a chance of getting their horse into the big race. So that spiced up those weeks beforehand, and you could have 3 or 4 winning you in races like the Beach Chase, the Welsh National, the Ultima, which would improved as well because they would be win and you're in races. And I think, listening to the vibes, I do think something will change next year. David, does that in any way appeal to you?
Look, it's a good idea.
God bless you.
Yeah, it is a good idea. Now, I'm not just buttering you up. I think you've made a very valid case. The National's a brilliant race and a great spectacle and everything, and it's probably something has to be done because you've got so many horses. Like, I'll just give away my tip now, but just say the Druid's nephew there, for instance, so I've been fancying for 12 months now. Like, his whole season has been completely and utterly spoiled by Neil Mulholland, who has just aimed him at one race and one race only, and he has barely ran this season. He's ran in 2 hurdle races. He was second to last Samurai after the weights came out for the Grand National. It's just infuriating for a horse like that I think is extremely talented and is certainly a great performer over fences. And he could be brought down at the first, that's the nature of the National.
But David, that's the risk that Neil is taking, isn't it? I mean,
but that's the risk.
It's bold. He thinks he's got a horse handicapped to win a National. He certainly looked he was running a magnificent. He was running a magnificent race last year. That's the decision of the owner and the trainer to put all their eggs in this basket.
Absolutely, yeah. It's probably just the handicapping system, that they have to try and not show their hand for so long in order to show their hand on the big day. And look, it happens in so many different races, so many handicaps throughout the year. This is the way it is. But I just find it a little bit infuriating that I think a horse of the Druid's nephew's ability it's just been geared at one race and one race only. And
But you won't be so cross if it wins, and your vast bank account in Switzerland is bolstered even further.
He's got a Panama account.
Yeah, I bet he has, actually.
The way things have been going. Yeah, never mind David Cameron's late father. David Jennings is the one who... I think we do know David. Just on the Drury, it's actually quite an interesting debate with this, or talking point with this Grand National, is that speaking to Neil Mulholland for a piece last week, he was making the point that we actually were going to run him more this season, but once the ground in the winter became so bad, there didn't seem much point running a horse that is much better on good ground. And even now, as we speak, they're calling the Grand National course good to soft in places. There's still more rain forecast.
Plenty of showers forecast.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can't, that's not torrential rain, but if it catches a couple on Thursday and Friday, we could be certainly looking at a soft Grand National.
That wouldn't actually bother me too much for the Drew's nephew. I know Neil obviously knows a lot more about his horse than I do, but I thought one of the Drew's nephew's best performances was when he was only getting £6 from Sam Winner in that handicap chase at the Open meeting 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I thought that was an unbelievable performance, that it was really soft ground that day, and look, I'm just all over him, but obviously, it's a Grand National, so anything could happen.
Alistair, what are you all over?
Well, fun enough, I spoke to Neil Mulholland about 5 minutes before we did this programme. He's very happy with the Druid's nephew. Been up to Lambourne, schooled him. Dennis Arrigo on, everything's fine with him. He says he looks really well. He has been geared for this single day, and I think he has a major chance. I fell in love with the horse when he was about 5th or 6th in the Albert Bartlett about 80 years ago when Andy Turnell trained him, and I thought, that is a horse for the future. He's proved that. He's a festival winner, and he ticks plenty of national boxes for me.
Would he be your main one then, Alistair?
No, but he'll be on the list of 4. I backed Many Clouds some months ago when somebody pointed out quite rightly that this is the only horse that going for a repeat win is not going to have gone through the ceiling because he's already near the ceiling last year.
Yeah.
So I've got a bit of 20s about him. And I'm quite keen on Mouse Morris's pair, First Lieutenant and Rule the World, but I'm kind of waiting on news of exactly what's going on there. I believe they're both in very good order. His horses are in very good order. I know I bore people to death, but he is a wonderful target trainer.
And Alistair, you'll be in floods, won't you, if First Lieutenant wins?
Yeah, I mean, somebody asked me 3 years ago what I wanted for Christmas, and I said First Lieutenant. I just think he's the most magnificent scrapper and battler. He's always has to run in races that are all but impossible to win, and time and again he's got chinned in them. I mean, he's getting on. Last year was all right. He made a mistake early, and that he was cooked after 3 fences. But he's just an old battler, and I will be in small pieces, I think.
And if this Christmas Mark O'Leary decides to send you say Don Cossack as a Christmas present instead, that would still be okay?
Keep him. No, Gordon can keep Don Cossack.
Okay.
First Lieutenant out in the back garden, he'll be absolutely fine.
Well, I've heard that Michael is a regular Postcast listener, so hopefully now...
yeah, because he's got nothing else to do.
There'll be tinsel attached to First Lieutenant in December. Paddy, tell me about your Grand National fancies.
Yeah, so boringly, Many Clouds. I think it's first of all it's pretty classy Grand National, isn't it? So I quite think Many Clouds, just the way he jumps and stuff like that, is very impressive. And I think I agree with Alistair's comment that he hasn't actually gone up a huge amount in the weight. So that's where he was last year. He's got a great chance if the ground came up good, which possibly is unlikely now. I think Shut the Front Door and Holywell, the two of them. Holywell in particular actually is one that if the ground came up good, that I'd really take a chance on that, because he's got some great entry, not around the fences, obviously, I'm aware of that, but he beat Don Cossack by 8 lengths in a novice. I'm really trying to make a case for myself here, because I quite like the horse. And at Cheltenham, I thought he ran brilliantly. He just ran into a typical, really progressive pipe horse who looks top class. So, but ran a good race. It seems to be back to himself while he was in terrible form last year. So Holywell and Shut the Front Door if the ground's good. I thought Shut the Front Door, if he settles better, I think he'd get home. He finished 4th or 5th last year and he was well backed. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Many Clouds with it.
And Paddy, who's going to go off favourite? Is Many Clouds guaranteed to head the market, do you think?
I would have thought so, yeah, unless there's some mad plunge on something else. I think Many Clouds will get more popular. I think a lot of the people there on the track.
Mad plunges, Paddy. You remember your Monka Hostin?
Yeah.
25s into about 8s or something.
Ridiculous. I know, fell at the first.
Well, but it doesn't matter. I mean, there are strange, out of the ether plunges on National Day.
There could be, what's the JP horse that's most likely to be the one that Geraghty rides, therefore the one that's plunged? Say if Kozakos not going to get him, but say he got in, or it could be Shut the Front Door, it could be Gallant Oscar, one of these ones that Geraghty's suddenly riding it, and then suddenly everyone gets behind it and it gets plunged. But I think Yeah, no, I think Many Clouds, people remember it as the winner from last year when they're at the track on the day. And we remember that there's loads of scandal about the SP and the prices that have been offered on the track. But I think physically the bookies don't have time to drift horses. They're so busy because there's so many horses in the race. So if the public do come for one...
There's never been a time when bookies don't physically find the time to drift horses. They've got the time, they just don't choose to do so.
Sorry, maybe at the track now. Maybe they don't choose to do so. But they're with 40 horses. But there could be a plunge on the day, and it could be some Munker. Why was the Munker Hoss and Gamble? I should know this, but I can't remember why it was. Was there any particular reason? Was there
I think a lot of people had money on it.
It's probably David Jennings. They probably heard that David Jennings had backed the horse.
He had his Panama account on it.
I think he ran quite well in the Gold Cup, hadn't he, that year?
Yeah. Paddy, just before we leave Many Clouds, just give us some insight then. What price are you guys Many Clouds now?
He's 8-1 now.
Okay, Saturday morning. When we open the Racing Post Saturday morning, what price will we see Many Clouds?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I think you're probably going to see, we'll be going 5 places. Most people go in 5 places, and there's even 6 places around 1 place, and then there's a lot of them go 4 places and will go mad on price. So you're probably going to see a 10. Well, 9-1, 10-1 the field.
A 10-1 the field.
Bound to see at least 10, or maybe 12 even.
Well,
Paddy,
you
go 12, Paddy.
They must go 10
Sorry,
the field.
I can't hear you. Sorry, I think my headphones are broken.
Right, before we wrap this up, we should just point out that
Lee, come on, you had a long list in the paper this week of the
that is a good point. Just on the early prices, because of what I was saying about and the scandal from last year. No matter what you're back in the National, back at early prices, or else even on the tote, if it's a huge price, because the show prices are rubbish. So back at early prices, definitely.
Yeah.
There's a book, Paddy Power saying, back a horse on the tote. Give me money's that nice Fred Doe.
Well, I'm just being nice. I'm just saying if it's 100 to 1 shot, he might be 150 on the tote.
Alice, just return to your early, but you were very kind, Alice, to ask what I've backed, as if people would want to know.
It's just because people are poised with pens on the card to scratch through the names.
Yes, thank you. Very, very sweet of you. Well, on the day the weights came out, I backed Holywell and Cause of Causes. Well, he's not going to get in now, Cause of Causes. Subsequently, I backed Boston Bob, because I figured that how could Ruby's Likely Ride go off at 33 to 1, but he's still 33 to 1, so that was inspired. And I will probably back the Druid's Nephew, and I'm thinking hard about Morning Assembly, because I thought he'd travel like a dream in the Ultimate at Cheltenham. And I just think he looks like a potential Irish winner of the Grand National.
There's sort of good words about for him, that's for sure.
But it's such a good race. You could easily say 10 horses you fancy, but you can't back 10 in the National. But I think you can back 5.
So
I probably will. And do you know I will? Thursday decks came through today. One theme of this festival is the support racing is absolutely fantastic, really, because Willie Mullins is sending across, for example, on Thursday, Annie Power and Nichols Canyon in the Aintree Hurdle, Don Poli and Geraghty in the Betfred Bowl. Then later in the week, we could have the likes of Duvan, Vitor and Dassault.
Jackie Mullins running in the Mayor's Bumper.
Really?
They're throwing everything at
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Jackie in the Mayor's Bumper, yes, definitely. Actually, Jackie, which is a horse that Jackie rides out every morning that won at Cheltenham? There was one of theirs that might be Limini or Vroom Vroom Maggie it was. She's in there as well, isn't she, in one of the races later in the week? Alistair, it's a good subplot, isn't it? It's all because of the British Trainers' Championship. At this stage, on that day at Sandown, middle towards the end of April, will it be Paul Nicholls or Willie Mullins lifting the trophy?
I should think it could easily be Willie Mullins. He is throwing everything at it because he wants to win it, and that's the operation is. I mean, Aintree kind of doesn't really figure on his map as a rule. No. It's Cheltenham, then Punchestown. But this year, everything is over here pretty well. He's determined to win it. It's going to be interesting at that day in Sandown who has the limelight, whether it's the champion trainer that gets publicity or Dickie Johnson.
Well, I would say it should be Dickie Johnson.
I think it probably will be.
Yeah,
actually.
I hope so.
I think as far as the public are concerned, who is champion jockey strikes a deeper and more resonant chord than who is champion trainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Paddy, what are your prices on Nicholls v Mullins at the moment?
Mullins is 1 to 3 after it was weird. It literally went from think he went from 11 to 10 to 1 to 3 the day he came out and said in the Post that he was sending basically 75,000 horses to
in his very informative column in the Racing Post.
In his very informative column in the Racing Post, yes, when he suggested
that's because you don't ghost it, David.
Yeah, but it was so like that was it, because and I think if either wins the National, obviously that's probably it, isn't it? Like so, yeah. But I think he'd walk out of Aintree ahead. But then Nichols is like, I would think I was reading it again in the wonderful newspaper. There's the Racing Post yesterday that Nichols is he's such a past master at end of season stuff like.
And he's also saturation bombing the National, isn't he, with 5 or 6
six runners. Six runners,
and including Silviniaco Conti, which some people will tell you is, if it's not a good thing, then a pretty reasonable.
He's a fascinating runner, isn't he?
He is a fascinating runner, and very interesting piece of Steve Dennis's today about how he doesn't seem to have caught the public's imagination. Well, he sure as hell will if he wins this.
If they can pronounce him.
Yeah.
Guys, just before we wrap this one up then, I don't think you are on duty tomorrow when Bruce is hosting the Thursday preview. Just across the rest of the meeting, just give me a few names of horses you're keen to back.
Well, you've got the decks for tomorrow, Liam, haven't you?
Yeah, so say
440.
440.
No, it's only the grade ones.
Just a grade one. Oh yeah, no, we haven't got that. We've got a bet for the entry hurdle.
My bet for the week is Manila Present in the 440 on Thursday for Neil Mulholland.
Ooh, and was that what this morning's discussion was about?
It was covered.
And were positive words given from the trainer?
I tell him it was a very bad line.
Was it a bad line?
Yeah, shocking, like Paddy Power's.
But it's not put you off backing him, which is encouraging.
The only thing that put me off backing was a lot of rain and it turned soft. He get away with good soft. He didn't get into the Grand Annual, but he's back in action at Aintree.
David, we'll save you till last because given your recent form, we could all be off to Panama in a second. Paddy?
Well, I actually fancy one in the same race as Alistair, which is a different horse, which is Dandridge for Arthmore, finished second in the Grand Annual.
Yeah, ran really well.
And just made a couple of mistakes that day, and I think that was interesting. It'd be great to see Arthur back at the big time.
And David, the man who won pretty much every race at the Cheltenham Festival, backed them all, told us all beforehand as well. Give us a few names.
Yeah, I don't
Didn't
think...
tell me before, and he told me afterwards, after time, the whole lot of them.
I don't think the trend will continue through to Aintree, unfortunately. But look, I fancy a whole host of horses. I'll give you 3 maybe. I'm convinced, and I remain convinced, that Lammy Surge is still a serious operator. He runs in the Manifesto Novice Chase, 2.5 miles. I think Aintree will suit him far better than Cheltenham did. And I think if Nico could ride the race again, I don't think he would have kicked. Not that it was a bad ride at all. I watched it a couple of times, but I think he would have maybe held on to him for a little bit longer than he did. And I think Aintree will suit him better. He's 4-1. I think that's a cracking price because Shane Sulu's favourite for the race is a Dodge Pot. Plenty of ability, but just doesn't have that much scope. Very inconsistent. So it would be Lammy Surge in that race for me. And I went through the bowl last night, and the one horse that I'm very surprised at such a big price, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Dom Poley at 13-2 or 6-1 is a huge price for one reason and one reason only. Q Card fell in got an absolute howler of a fall. He might be fine. He might be, I don't know. Jacadam went head-to-head with Don Cossack for the final mile, basically. The two of them had such hard races. And there was Dom Poley out the back, tender hand, and Davy Russell tried to coax him into it, got outpaced, and then obviously stayed on. I don't think Dom Poley is that hard of a race. There's plenty of rain coming in Aintree. I think it's going to be much softer than it was for the Gold Cup anyway. I think 6-1 each way is a great price by Dom Poley. And the other horse I'm going to give you is La Bague O'Roy. Warren Greatrex, unbeaten filly in the Mayor's Bumper on Friday. I think she is potentially top class.
Got Jackie Mullins to beat.
Yes, it's Jackie Mullins to beat, and that'll be an interesting. But La Bague O'Roy, Warren Greatrex, I think she's a filly with a big future.
Gentlemen, what superstars you are. David Jennings, Alistair Down, Paddy Power, thank you so much for your cooperation in this podcast. This chair today filled at the moment by Lee Motter, so tomorrow will be filled by the boss, Bruce Millington, who will be joined by Brendan Duke of Paddy Power, Graham Rodway of the Racing Post, and Willie's heir apparent, Patrick Mullins, will be on the Racing Post Postcast tomorrow, looking ahead to the first day of the Grand National Festival. This is Grand National Week. Saturday is the best day of the racing year. Hope you all enjoy it. Bye-bye.
The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They pay more extra places than any other bookie.